Hello, very good evening. Today basically we will learn about form validation on a client side. How we can validate the form data that has been entered on a client's PC without involving the server. So basically we will be using JavaScript to understand and how we validate the forms. By that we mean whenever user enters a data inside a form, we validate and check whether that data is correctly entered as per desired requirement or not. We will be using regular expressions to do that evaluation as well. Or in other words, we will use regular expressions of JavaScript for that form validation purpose to validate that the content user has entered is correct or not. My name is Dr. Zishan Bhatti. If you are here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit that bell icon so you receive the notifications of these lectures regularly. Let's begin. Now, form validation is something that has been used for a very long time. The major purpose of form validation is that it requires us to validate the data the user has entered inside a particular form. That form can be name, that form can be login name or password. Then we need to validate that the login name is correctly entered in terms of the number of characters required for your username. For example, if you require only alphabets and alphanumerics to be entered, has the user entered only alphanumeric characters? Other escape characters or other symbols are not allowed. How do we validate that the content is correct? For example, phone number requires only numerics, so is it correctly entered? For the phone number, length is correctly entered, email address format is correct. So this all comes under form validation. For that, we use various different functions and methods using something called form validation as well. So we check empty fields, we generate alerts for invalid data that has been entered, we practice, and we will do some assignments in the end as well. So when you create a forms, providing form validation is useful to ensure that your customers enters valid and complete data. For example, you may want to ensure that someone inserts a valid email address into a text box, or perhaps you want to ensure that someone fills a certain fields correctly, accurately as per your desired requirement. Client-side validation provides validation within the browser on a client's computers through JavaScript. Because the code is stored within the page or within a linked file, it is downloaded into the browser and the user accesses that page and therefore doesn't require a round trip to the server. For this reason, client form validation can be faster than server validation. However, client-side validation may not work in all instances. A user may have a browser that does not support a client-side script or may have a scripting disabled on their browsers. So we need to be very careful about that. Knowing the limits of a client-side scripting helps you decide whether to use client-side validation or server-side validation. We will be talking about server-side validation in next lecture. Now, checking empty fields. How do we check for an empty field in a form? Regardless of what form type it is, what data it is, if user has not entered the required data, for example, name, password, if he has not entered it, and just press submit or login, what should we do? If we have asked user to enter his age and he has left the field blank, what should we do? So we run a simple script. For example, in this case, we create within our head, we use a JavaScript code. Within JavaScript, we create a function called check empty. This is a simple function that will check whether the text field is empty or not. Within this function, we created a variable called name document.myform.textName. So again, we read the data of our form using JavaScript. So in order to do that, we use the document.myform, go inside the document, dot connecting operator, it connects your document, your web page with your myform, the content of your HTML. Then within that form, there is a text name field. Access this text name field. Whatever data is inside this, save it in name. Then document.myform.text last name, again same thing, save it inside last name. So we read the data from our form using JavaScript and save it inside two variables. Now we use a simple condition called if name.value is equals to blank. Okay, a simple validation mechanism. In this case, if the value is blank, document.getElement by ID, we create a text name message. So we have a message field dot inner HTML, please fill the field. And then we return the focus back to the name field that we had created. So what this will basically mean that if user has entered a data and it's blank, When this function executes, it will check whether it's a blank or not. If it is blank, it will give us a message, please fill the field. Now remember, this message is generated by JavaScript through accessing an inner element of our HTML. So assuming there is a paragraph tag that has a name, text name message. Okay. So in your HTML, we create a simple paragraph that has no text inside it at the moment. It will have text if the username doesn't enter any data. Okay. So we name that tag, PHP tag as text name message, and we call it. Name.focus is basically a method using JavaScript. We return the focus back to that name field. Else, if the last name is dot value is equals to blank. For example, if this is false, good. Now we go back into next else and check whether the last name that we saw is it blank or not. If it is blank, then again the same thing. Okay, so we give it a last name message. Inner HTML is equal to fill text. So using this, we simply check whether the data is blank or not. Else document.myform.submit. So once we have else method means that if both these values are false, so if this is false, else this is false, then we basically go inside our final else and we document.myform.submit. And now we submit the form. So before submitting the form to PHP server, we use to call this function to validate whether this data is true or not, whether these fields are basically true or not, there is data or not. Within the HTML, if you come here, we have an action process.php post method myform. So this is simple. So basically data is to be sent to the PHP. But before we send it, again, this is internal checking. In this table, we have input text name, input ID with a message text name, their table data, again text name with an ID, last text name message. Okay. Now these are inner HTMLs that will be used for printing the message, error message, if in case the text fields are not filled. In this case, I've used the table data. You can use paragraph or whatever you want. Then input type button, submit and submit. Okay. So once this data is submitted, basically we validate whether this form is correctly filled or not. Now let's use regular expressions. Regular expressions are very powerful tools for performing pattern matching. You can perform complex tasks that once require lengthy procedures with just a few lines of code using something called regular expressions. So how are regular expressions implemented in JavaScript? There are basically two ways. Using literal syntax, or when you need to dynamically construct a regular expression via the regular expression constructor. So either we use literal syntax or we use a regular expression constructor to construct a dynamic expression, which is sometimes used when you actually don't know that format at initial level. So it's dynamically constructed at runtime depending on what values and what systems you're working on. The literal syntax looks something like this. We create a variable, a regular expression, a variable name is equals to, and we define a pattern within the double backslash. Okay, so backslash at the start and backslash at the end, we specify a particular pattern. While the regular expression constructor methods looks like variable, regular expression, again a variable name, is equals to a new keyword for creating a new object, regular expression and a pattern. This is specified so that a regular expression is created dynamically. The pattern is specified at the runtime. The regular expression method allows you to dynamically construct the search pattern as a string and is useful when the pattern is not known ahead of time. So if you don't know, or if the pattern is not known throughout the system, as soon as the data is entered, based on that data, we create a random pattern. Now continuing, regular expression, these are various different patterns that are used to evaluate the expression. As we know, the text field basically contains the text, or in other words, the string data. So basically we are trying to validate what string data is provided. These are various different patterns that are available to validate the type of data that can be entered or is entered in a text. For example, the expression ABC within square brackets indicate that the text is A, B or C. The text expression A-Z indicates that it is any character which is lowercase. The expression, I don't exactly know what we call this, but this symbol with A-Z, any character that is an uppercase letter. Okay, oh sorry, that is not an uppercase letter. So this is like an not operator here. a dash z plus one or more lower letters. So we need to validate if there is one or more letters, lowercase letters. So we use a dash z plus. So at least it has to have one lowercase letter, commonly used in passwords. At least you need one capital, one lower, one number, and so on and so forth. 0 minus 9, comma, dot minus, any number, dot or minus symbol. So these are basically patterns that we create and we can modify our own things. Okay, yes, you can define your own patterns as well. So for example, not operator, a to z, capital A to z, 0 to 9, underscore, brackets, 1, comma, brackets, dollar sign. Any word of at least one letter, number or an underscore. So it basically means that it must have any of one of these things. A to z, small, A to z, capital, number and an underscore. This is used for passwords more commonly. Okay, and expressions gets complex in different forms as well. Let's use them. Okay, we have something called meta characters as well. Meta characters are basically special characters that allows us to perform certain tasks within our regular expressions. For example, \w, find word character, i.e. alphabets and numbers. The \w is used to find word characters, alphabets and numbers. Capital W, find non-word characters, special characters. The \d, find digits, capital D, find non-digit characters, i.e. alphabets and special characters. Pattern switches or modifiers within regular expressions. Use switches to make the match global or case insensitive or both. Switches are added to a very end of a regular expression. For example, the property I description is that ignores the case of a character. For example, THE within the pattern window. So THE within these double brackets is basically what we call the pattern, and after this pattern we specify I. This I is the property. Matches the and the and the. So it basically means that ignore the case. So in order to match a string, we specified a pattern that this is the string that I want to find, but I would want to make sure that it is case sensitive or case insensitive. So if it is case insensitive, I need to provide I. If it is case sensitive, I don't need to provide I. So if I don't provide I, it becomes case sensitive. So when you do I, it basically means ignore the case. So this all will be same. G, global search for all occurrences of a pattern. AIN, for example, we specified a pattern. G, matches both AIN in no pain, no gain instead of just the first. So it will try to match, basically means that find this in terms of global. So all the occurrences of AIN word is matched. So in this string, no pain, no gain, there is AIN and AIN. So both will be searched. Okay. GI basically means global search, no case. Okay, so search everything but ignore the cases. JavaScript regular expressions. What is a regular expression in Java? A regular expression is an object that describes the pattern of a character. When you search in a text, you can use a pattern to describe what you are searching for. A simple pattern can be one single character. A more complicated pattern can be consisting of more characters and can be used for parsing, format checking, substitution, and more. Regular expressions are used to perform powerful pattern matching and search and replace functions on text. For example, variable pattern. Again, pat is basically any variable name that you specify is equals to new, the new operator, regular expression variable is bracket start. We specify a pattern, common its modifier. For example, we can simply use a literal form in terms of variable pattern, and we give a pattern with a backslash start and backslash end and then a modifier. Okay, we discussed the pattern in previous slides and the modifier as well. How to create a pattern? If you want to create your own pattern, this is how we do it. Variable pattern is equals to new regular expression. Within the brackets, we specify backslash, the not operator, A to Z, 1 comma dollar and the expression close. So we have defined a new expression here. Or you can define a pattern in this manner. Variable pattern, the same thing, backslash, not operator, bracket start A to Z, bracket close, curly bracket start 1 comma curly bracket close. This basically means that I need to find A to Z. It must have one character A to Z, at least one, right? Dollar sign backslash. So this basically creates a new expression. Variable pattern is equal to new regular expression. Again, remember we need to specify the pattern, or the new regular expression, the pattern that we specified here with the inverted quotations. Or you can also create the same pattern with this variable. It will accept only A to Z alphabets or only alphanumeric characters having minimum length of 1. So at least one alphabet is required. So this is my regular expression. So what I do now is based on this pattern, it will now go and verify and check within my string. A variable new pattern is also specified in terms of 0 to 9 or pattern 0 to 9 $1. Okay. Similarly, new pattern regular expression or variable pattern is equal to new regular expression with quotation marks. You can do that as well. If you are using quotation marks, don't use the backslash. Okay. What this expression does, it will accept only numbers between 0 to 9 or only numeric characters having minimum length of 1. So in previous, only alphabets. This expression basically means that it only accepts 1 to 9, 0 to 9 numbers form only. Okay. So for example, if you are expressing a telephone number or your CNIC number or any numeric data, your age, and you want to ensure that user only enters a number data, this is the one way of doing it. So we create a regular expression that validates or checks a pattern that it has to be between 0 and 9, minimum one letter, and no other character is allowed. So dollar sign basically means no other character is allowed. I guess so. Regular expression. The test method tests for each match in a string. This method returns true if it finds a match, otherwise it returns a false. The syntax, for example. Regular expression object dot test string. A string required, the string is to be searched. So whatever string we want to search, we need to specify it. For example, we create a simple JavaScript string hello world. We specify a pattern, variable pattern backslash hello backslash G. G again means global. Search all occurrences of hello. Variable result, again a variable result we create so that whatever the result we do of searching comes back here. So we say pattern dot test string. So what this basically means that go inside the string, test this string with this pattern, or in other words match this string with this pattern. If the pattern is found, save the value in the result, and document dot write, the returned value is whatever the return value gets printed. We can also go and do in a different manner. For example, we variable pattern is equal to new regular expression pattern, and you can use this as well. This was a simple literal form. This is another way. Okay. So we create a regular expression backslash quotations not operator bracket start A to Z $1. So this basically means it must have one character and it must be between alpha A to Z. Okay. So we have bound this particular expression. Now we say variable string hello world pattern test. Again, test is a built-in method that will test this string based on this pattern. So test is a method that is built in. This method will test this string with this particular pattern. Whatever the result is will be saved in the result variable, and we print that result variable. Simple. Okay. So using this we execute the method, or using this we validate the method. Then there is another method called execute within regular expressions. Execute method tests for a match in a string. This method returns the match text if it finds a match, otherwise a null. So if you need to find a particular match, a particular string within a given string, we use the execute function. Okay. So the syntax is regular expression object or whatever is the pattern that we want to search dot exec and your string specified. String is required. This string is to be searched. So whatever we specify here will be searched. For example, script, we specify script, variable string hello world, patron hello G. Again, hello is the pattern that we want to search for. G is basically the global variable. Global search means search all the occurrences of the word. Variable result at this pattern dot the execute function and the string. So this basically means now that go inside the string, search for this particular pattern and return the result for me. Okay. So what this and the result is printed. So what we do, another way is that we specify, for example, variable string, the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain. Okay. Variable pattern, new regular expression A to Z, 1 and global ignore case. Okay. So this basically means that search alphabets, at least one character, global and I is for ignore case. The new result pattern is string. So just ensure that this string that you have specified contains at least one A to Z characters, one character in A to Z form, and they has a global ignore case. Okay. So we use these kind of strings to match the pattern values. The replace method searches a string for a specified value or regular expression and returns a new string where the specified values are replaced. The syntax is string replace search value with a new value. So if you want to replace something within a string, we use the replace function. Search value is again required the value or regular expression that will be replaced by a new value. New value, the required, again this value will be replacing the searching value. So whatever we specify here, we will search from here. This value is replace this value. So you search a given search value and this is a new value. So when it finds it, it will automatically replace it. For example, we specify a string Mr. Blue has a blue house and a blue car. So we specify a search pattern, string dot replace, give a particular pattern. In this case, blue. So it will search for a blue string, the blue pattern. Global, okay, means search all occurrences, not just one. First, ignore it, all occurrences. So first, second, third, search for it. But I have not specified I here. I is for ignore lowercase. So this basically means that wherever you search for blue, replace it with red, but don't ignore the case. Okay. So now what it will do, it will go here, it will not include this, but it will replace this blue with red, it will replace this blue with red. Okay. Document.write new string. So whatever the final output is, new string will be returned here. So we can search a particular text from within a string using a replace method and very simply just specify a pattern and that pattern will be done. Match method. Match method searches for a string for a match against a regular expression. For example, returns the matches as an array object. If the regular expression does not include the global modifier to perform a global search, the match method will return only the first match in the string. This method returns null if no match is formed. Expression. Regular, the string dot match regular expression. So what it will do, it will take this pattern and match all occurrences of this pattern from a string and return an array of all the matches. So if you need to find a specific word or syntax or content within a string multiple times or all the times that this character has occurred, basically this is what we do. Return the type of match method is an array. So remember, it will return an array. Regular expression that is specified as an argument, again this value to search for is a regular expression, it's required. The syntax of match or the code for match will be, we create a JavaScript, we specify a string, the rain in Spain stays mainly in plain. Now what we want to do is the result string match AIN. So it will just search for it, not replace it, not change it, but just search for it and tell me how many times in this particular string I have AIN. So this is the pattern that I specified. Global, find as many times as you want. If you don't specify G, only first AIN will be searched and returned. But if you want to search multiple times within the string, just use G. I basically means ignore case. So this AIN is also equal to this AIN. Ignore the case. So it will go inside this string and return AIN in first index of an array, AIN in second index of an array, AIN in third index of an array, AIN in the fourth index subsequently. Okay. So all the occurrence of AIN will be returned within an array and you can print the result and check it out. So this is one method. Similarly, we can use the pattern AIN match and search for that as well. Okay, the result would be same. So it will print AIN, 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 or in multiple times, or all the occurrence of AIN. We can use, for example, string, the rain in Spain, the same string with a new pattern. The pattern is that we create a new regular expression. This expression means that search for A to Z, at least one time global illumination, global illumination not, global and I. The variable result is equals to string match pattern. So match this pattern now within the string, write the result. What this will do, it will go and ensure and read all the content. So the rain in Spain actually comes in this particular order. So it basically means we are trying to search that does this string contain the characters, okay, and represent and return these characters for me. So it will go and read all these characters, match it that yes it satisfies this equation, and return it to us. Search. Search method searches a string for a specified value or a regular expression and returns the position of that match. So if the no match is found, it returns -1. The syntax of this is string.search, search a value. So search a value required the value, this value is what will be searched from a given string. For example, the return type is integer, the index of that particular academy. So I use the string Zishan Academy, variable string. So go inside this string, dot search for academy. So wherever there is academy or this particular pattern is available, it will search for me. Remember, this is a pattern. I can use it in double quotations. I can use it with backslash, or I can create a new pattern and specify that as an argument here. It will find the academy at the index at which this pattern is found, and it will return the pattern for me. Okay. So wherever the academy is, the index of that number will be returned. So similarly, you can search for any particular string from within a given value. Search, for example, Mr. Blue has a blue house and a blue car. We say variable search, string search blue globally. Okay. So what this will do, it will try to search all occurrences of blue from within this string and return the index number of it. So using this, you can easily search for any content within a particular string. Okay. So hopefully you understand that we use these regular expressions to search for various different contents from within our string, to validate, to check. Then once the data is there, we use if-else statements to validate that whether they are satisfying a certain condition or not. Okay. So use regular expressions to validate the content of your text fields for your form fields. Thank you very much for watching. If you are here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe the channel, hit that bell icon so you receive these tutorials regularly. This is Dr. Shan Bharti. Thank you very much.